What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin price chart and the little correction that we saw happen yesterday, along with the altcoin market, as we appear to be just kind of in a chop consolidation area here between like $62,000 and back up here, of course, is 69. Yesterday, if you were paying attention to Twitter or X.com, the sentiment was certainly washed and hosed during that. I saw a tweet by Santiment over there, which of course they monitor a lot of social trend behavior. And they said crypto markets have corrected alongside equities as traders increase speculation that the bull rally has come to an end, with crowd optimism transitioning to doubt. These are the $500 million plus market cap projects showing the best upside based on buying into the crowd FUD. I'm not going to go through these to try to be like, yeah, buy it because of FUD. But the social trend yesterday was a lot of FUD, and that the bull rally has come to an end. And then, of course, right at that moment, there ended up being a little bit of a bounce here. Of course, the continuation of playing along with the Russell 2000 seems to be the story. Posted a little tweet there this morning. Birds of a feather, of course, flock together. We've talked about this a lot here on the channel, looking at the inverse perspective of Bitcoin and just a longer consolidation. I'm not going to bring up the November of 2023 video really talking about this. And while we've talked about it in a lot of the past videos, but in Markets of the Morning, talking about how it really just seems like we're probably just going to be in a chop zone here for Bitcoin until finally we can get a confirmed breakout happening in here. Not a friend of trend lines, but you could definitely see that sentiment went absolutely wrecked yesterday on Twitter. People just being like, packing up the bags, it's not going to happen. And, that comes off of really just going kind of straight lined up from October 10th all the way up in here until October 21st. We get a couple of days of pullback. People forget what pullbacks feel like. And really, I think it's just going to be likely that we probably do just kind of wash around in here for a little while until we can get a confirmed breakout to happen over there in the United States stock market. Like we've talked about with consolidation structures and bottoming structures and how they end up playing themselves out, they can be a little bit of a wash in here and take some time. And one of the things I've kind of repeated multiple times over the last couple of weeks is the thing I'm really more concerned about is sentiment in an event like that. And I think we got to see a little bit of a spark of that over there on Twitter yesterday. However, I do come from an optimistic standpoint that we're not going to see a mega super deep correction happening in here for Bitcoin, that we're just kind of consolidating up here with the Russell 2000. And that I even saw comments yesterday, people being like, it's just never going to happen. It's just not going to occur this time. And it's likely due to a lot of people recognizing there is something different happening over here in broader markets compared to 2012, 2016, and 2020 that ultimately led to big major bull runs. However, over the last couple of videos, I've been trying to present the case that, this seems more like a topping structure happening over here for the United States stock market, and they just get treated differently than actual expansions like we did see for Bitcoin's 2013, 17, and 21 bull runs. The only experience most people have in this type of circumstance is with C19, because this is exactly what was happening before C19, but I've been trying to present the argument. This is also exactly what happens when you get to the peak of equity bubbles, where you see extreme consolidation into a couple of assets. Then eventually those assets go through corrections and a rotation out of those assets happens to where the value that has been left behind gets rotated into. Essentially, that shuffles on in over to here on things like the Russell 2000, which we know we're really tied to. But even on here, it's not going to happen, right? It's hard for me to believe it's not going to happen. We are just so ridiculously close. This thing doesn't look bullish, and that's a good thing. You don't want this thing to look bullish. This, of course, is the safety trade dominance. It just looks like it's just teetering here after going the same amount of time as we've seen on safety trades happening in the past for the cryptocurrency market. We've looked at several different assets on what their bottoming structures are looking like compared to things that we've seen in crypto before, what completed correction structures look like. And we can see that these things are still just holding up in here. Nothing wild has happened here in the last couple of days. But the thing that we've talked about is the concern I've had is patience factor. How long is this going to take to have to play out in here? Hey, I'm more than happy to take a big fat surprise and this thing just go ahead and get started and get shifting its way up in here. But I am bringing the mental preparation that, this could have to drift here for a little while. If Bitcoin has a bunch of waddling it's going to have to do throughout here to try to work its way out before a bigger move can take place in here, where things can get interesting like so. What I also find fascinating from a sentiment standpoint is when we were back at these prices back in March, it was extreme euphoria. Now we're back at them, and there's a lot of fear about the price action and what's going to end up happening. Typically, when we get back to retracements, if we get back there on extreme optimism, that is a really big warning sign. And that's what we saw in March with the altcoin market happening in here. Extreme euphoria, extreme confidence. Those are things that are typically worrisome when we get back to the retracement levels. But when we get back to these areas and are waddling around in here on a lot of fear and worry that a big major crash is going to come, those are typically better signs. And my thesis of the market currently right now is just that. We are just ranging in here for a little while. I don't know if we're going to have to get through the elections first before things can get shuffling their way out, giving us the big grand finale. But until then, trying to make super sense out of all the little minuscule details and data points we can look at about Bitcoin. The reality is it's just this, right? Like, even when all of this happened back here to Bitcoin and this breakdown happens over here in April and May of 2022, I mean, we know it was the Russell 2000, right? And there's Bitcoin, and there you have it, right? Like the top of the Russell, the top of Bitcoin, it all works together, and then the breakdowns come together at the exact same time. And so that's why we spend time talking about it. We're like, all right, well, in what circumstances can we have this type of dynamic happen and it still ultimately lead to getting to a breakout into a new high, which is what we need in order for Bitcoin and crypto to be able to get shifted? Well, we have to have a particular type of context happening in markets. We can't have something like C19. If it's something like C19, get ready, it's going to be negative 70% lights out, and that happened in like 2 days. However, there are a whole lot more parallels to what's happening like 1998 through 2000, where all the indexes got out nearly a year before the Russell 2000, and it was extreme consolidation of breadth, like what we're seeing with NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, Google, etc. Ultimately, it did lead to a push to getting out of here, which was a rotation throughout markets, which is far different from expansions happening in markets, but a rotation happening in broader markets. And my thought process is that is going to eventually happen, and we'll be recipients of the rewards. But until then, we just enjoy the washing machine. And I don't want to come on here and just get ready, because pretty soon it's going to the moon. But I know that's not where people's minds are at right now. People's minds are at tired, I'm whooped. It's been a long bear. It's been the longest bear we've ever had. And I'd like to show some light at the end of the tunnel. And I do think we're getting closer and closer and closer to that inevitably happening. We just got to wait for this chop range to break and for Bitcoin to break. But so far, nothing acting out of what expectations would be. A little bit of chop over here in Bitcoin, chop over here in the altcoin market. And on specific assets, monitoring their structures, still looking good. We're just playing the patience game, which of course has been the game for XRP holders, but price still continues to just hold these lows that were set back there at the beginning of October. Of course, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening over there on XRP. First ledger was launched last week. I'm not sponsored, but finally there's meme coins over here on the XRP ledger. There's been a big boost over here happening with TVL, total value locked, and users coming in and using XRP. These are things I've talked about for a long time, that these are important. Not necessarily that meme coins are the ultimate important thing, but to see actual usage happening, users coming over, value moving. These have been exciting things to actually see show up over here for XRP. Well, the price still just kind of sits here chilling, waiting for something to happen in here with the rest of the market. But these are the exciting things that I hold on to and say, okay, good. There's people doing stuff on there. So things are looking all right. Just kind of in some chop city for the time being, whether it's Bitcoin or the altcoins. And well, it makes sense. We've seen chop show up here in the Russell. So historically speaking, right, every 4 years, this is where you see things kind of turn around in broader markets in October and November, especially once you get through elections. So we're all in that time period. And I remain optimistic that we will see something eventually come out of here. We're all just trying to shuffle through this period first. But while the crowd screams fear, things look okay to me. We're just washing machining for a minute, but not crashing. So, all right. That'll be it for this one. I'll keep it pretty short and sweet for a Thursday. Otherwise, I need to head back over and hop into the trenches. I am personally trying to learn how to do a lot of this meme stuff over here on XRP so I can at least have experience to be able to talk about it. So, time to lock in and get into the trenches. But, all right, you guys can check out the newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. This is where I do long write-ups. I do personal recordings of all of these that I do. Talk about a lot of research data. We'll talk about things going on in the markets. I put a ton of work into these. You can check that out over here on Substack. Of course, you could check out my website, bcbacker.com, with over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. There are links down here in the description of this video to bcbacker.com and to the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, I hope you're having a wonderful week. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.